Okay, good evening, everyone. It's Ron. Uh, we'll go ahead and get started. It is Monday, the 4th of August, a little after 6 p.m. So we'll get started. On yesterday, we were talking about the Tower of Babel and from Genesis 10 and 11. We're talking about Nimrod and looking at some things and expanding out a little bit on that. But that was the where we got most of our lesson and we spoke to from a question that Charles had asked. So, any questions or comments, anything about any of that before we see if anybody has anything else that may have hit across their minds. Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to discuss today? Any questions you may have?
Didn't, hello, and this is Audrey, but I was going to ask Sheldon, didn't he have a question? Couple days, no, a couple sessions ago, and he was waiting for pastors to come on.
Yes, it was actually last Monday, a week ago, and right before we started, it came on my up on my phone that I believe his name is Ray Daniels or something like that. The guy's one of the architects, if not, I'm not sure if he's the main architect, but one of the architects for Project 2025 was actually challenging in South Carolina, Lindsey Graham. And I was wondering if Pastor Richard had any comments, thoughts about that, given the significance of Lindsey Graham and the role he's played in the government, what he's represented to his country for a very long time, as well as it, of course, being South Carolina and the significance of that, and also his role in Project 25 and just what he might have saw or thought about that.
Okay. The guy who's running against Lindsey Graham, as you said, is connected with Project 25. And my assessment of that is he will beat Lindsey Graham. And the reason I say that is because it would not be the first time that Donald Trump has switched his endorsement from one person to another. And by virtue of this guy being in Project 2025, he's going to get all kinds of encouragement to support this guy. And the other part of it is the people who are connected to Project 2025 can get down and dirty. And I don't think that Lindsey Graham is prepared to deal with their approach to politics. I don't put it past them to say anything about him and to reference what has been out there about him in terms of his sexual, well, let me just say it, what's been out there about him being possibly homosexual. I don't think that's beneath them to do that. I think it would be very interesting. And I think that the Republican primary is going to be one of the most watched primaries in the country because of that, especially if Nancy Mace goes ahead and announces that she's going to run for governor as well.
Wait, who is this guy? I mean, did he move to South Carolina or what?
He's from South Carolina. It's wild. There were more than 100 people involved with Project 2025. They had not a team of researchers, they had teams of researchers going through the Constitution as well as the policies and the laws that were passed that governed EPA and all the rest of the governmental departments, searching for ways to dissolve them. And they were doing research for, my God, since Trump, but actually before Trump first term ended, to be honest with you. So it's not surprising to me that a South Carolinian is involved in it.
What is his role right now? I mean, what is his title? Is he an elected official of
No.
some kind?
No, no. Only thing I read about him, and I only saw it once, and it said that it simply said that he was connected with Project 2025. Sheldon, did you read anything beyond that about his biography?
I'm not sure of his exact role, just that he was involved with Trump's first presidency.
Yeah.
Or so that I was alarmed that this established Republican was being challenged by someone who seemed like they had real weight and connected to more so connected to what this current administration essentially is on. Their game plan in a sense. So that was like all of a sudden just brought up a lot of questions. And like I said, the connection to South Carolina as well. I had no idea that South Carolina was even involved like that intimately with Project 25, not with a significant figure as such anyway.
I didn't either, but like I said, it does not surprise me one iota. The thing that I think we're missing sometimes is the reality is that Donald Trump is a smokescreen. All of these things that are happening are the crux of all the chaos is coming from Donald Trump purposely. And they keep him creating more chaos. Behind the scenes, Stephen Miller and the leadership of Project 2025 are the ones who is running the government. The reason that there was a tremendous increase for ICE in this budget is because that's what Stephen Miller wanted. And excuse me. And when we look at the role that Stephen Miller has played, we see who the president is in reality. One of the plans is to increase the presence of the military on the streets. Los Angeles was a test case, and they deemed it to be successful. So that's the plan now. As far as ICE is concerned, 150 grand a year, no education necessary, student loans forgiven if you have any, anonymity promised. And that's what we have out there. And as I said before, I believe that quite a few of those who are out there with ICE are the guys who were the guys who were pardoned by Trump from January 6th. So, but that's what I see so far anyway.
What is the significance of everybody flocking to South Carolina, though? This state's government.
South Carolina is not so much they're flocking to South Carolina as is they're drawn to South Carolina. South Carolina is the mecca for racism. The how to handle slaves, how to control Black folk. South Africans came to South Carolina to learn that. South Carolina's always been the mecca of racism. During the Revolutionary War, South Carolina said that before they allow enslaved people to have a gun in their hands, they will submit to the crown, while all other states put guns in the hands of their enslaved men. South Carolina is the one who made sure that the Second Amendment was in the Constitution. So South Carolina has always played an extremely prominent role in the government. The Confederacy lost the war, but they lost the battle rather, but they won the war. And the leadership in this country has always been South Carolina. The input from South Carolina has always been dominant as this government was being grown as it was. No matter who in position in the White House or in the Congress, you're going to find someone from South Carolina who is extremely influential. And that's just the way it is because of the energy. It's like South Carolina is the state that produces the electricity, and all the other states are substations that draw their power from South Carolina. And if you read the second, you will find that it deals more with South Carolina and its relationship to the Constitution, Revolutionary War, etc. South Carolina, 3/5 of a man, South Carolina. That charge. See where I'm coming from? The first one to secede from the Union, South Carolina. The first one to even think about writing secession papers, South Carolina. And they were written in Union County. The draft was written in Union County. But it's South Carolina.
So, there is no coincidence then that the base of this group, and I'm talking about us, is also from South Carolina.
No.
Speak to that.
No, it is no coincidence that those who grew up or have connection to South Carolina are prominent in what we are doing. When I talk about us being the vanguard for balance in the earth, that is not a casual statement. I believe that we are the vanguard for what's happening, for bringing balance to the earth because we're in South Carolina. The overwhelming majority of Africans who were enslaved here came to the ports of South Carolina. So it only really, the only, what I'm looking for a word. It would seem as though South Carolina would have within it those who are able to overpower the energy that is racist, that is unrighteous, etc. We are in the belly of the whale. We are in the belly of a great fish. Let me put it that way. And we not only have we experienced generationally the racism in South Carolina, um, the master slave complex in South Carolina. And let me tell you what I mean by that. We all know that if you are of African descent and a white man likes you, or a white man has taken a like because he don't love you, he will do things to help you, but he's not going to do it for anyone else. You understand the principle?
Mhm.
Strom Thurmond kept not only South Carolina State open, Strom Thurmond also kept Morris College open. When Morris College needed a library in order to maintain their credentials, they went to Strom Thurmond, and my being in the Baptist convention at that time, being a part of it at that time, was a part of the committee who talked with the president of Morris College, Dr. Richardson, in order to get this done. And they were supposed to, the Department of Education offered, gave them, let's say $350,000, whatever. Yeah, I think it's $350,000. Anyway, but they had to match it, and they were not able to match it. So Strom Thurmond pulled the money from someplace else or some other department and gave them matching funds. And always, he said, do not let anyone know that I did this, because the only way I can do it is to remain in Congress. He did that. And there were other things that he did for people from South Carolina who are African descent. Now, as a whole, no, it was individual. But is that not the way white men work? Through individual Africans, not the whole, not all of us. So that says to me that the Creator has us here, or put us here, so that we could exert spiritual influence, while the other South Carolinians, the people, the Neanderthal mindset, are wielding political power. And the political power that South Carolina has always wielded is coming to an end. And since South Carolina has been the most influential state in this government, when South Carolina crumbles, so will the rest of the government crumble. And I think it's something else that's interesting also. South Carolina was the first to secede, and Texas was the second to secede. And if you look at what comes out of Texas, it is a mirror as to what comes out of South Carolina in terms of race relations or non-race relations, and all the principles that comes out of South Carolina that does absolutely nothing to aid the people. And now they're about to find something out and what they're going to find out is this big, beautiful bill that South Carolinians pushed through Congress, along with the other Republicans, is going to hurt South Carolina tremendously because of the number of people that South Carolina has on Medicaid. And that number is increasing because there are layoffs. And South Carolina is going to suffer because of the the funds that are being taken away from the education department. So this state, its influence now is now dwindling, and is going to be a implosion in the government of South Carolina, because South Carolina is one of the poorest states in the union. The poorest state in the union is Louisiana, and number 2 is Mississippi, number 3 is Alabama, and South Carolina is down in there someplace. So that's where we are, and that's why I say South Carolina. We are the energy of our ancestors, the ancestors who fought diligently against slavery, the ancestors who always rebelled against slavery. No one talks about it, but if you were to do the research, you will find that rebellions in South Carolina were a constant thing during the entire period of enslavement. And those who, the majority of those who escaped to Florida came out to South Carolina and went through Georgia. So when we talk about the Seminoles, that's who we're talking about. If you look at the pictures from that era when the Trail of Tears took place, was set into motion by Andrew Jackson, what you will see is that they look like us. On TV, they don't. When they do the pictures and they do the movies and stuff, they don't. But they look like us. They were the descendants of Moors. So the last thing I want to say about this is that when you hear Donald Trump say that Andrew Jackson was his favorite president, that's a dog whistle. Because Andrew Jackson was the leadership involved in genocide all over this country, especially in the Southeast. So when he says that's his favorite president, hear what he's saying. Hear what he's saying. So I don't know how anybody of African descent can support him unless they have a Neanderthal mindset. And they want to be accepted by the white males so much until they're willing to sell their soul. And all of it is sprouts from the seeds in South Carolina. South Carolina was the first state that had enslaved people. It was not Virginia. It was South Carolina. In the 1500s, when the Spanish ruled Florida, that territory, it was Florida because it wasn't a state then, and part of the coast of Georgia, and they were coming into South Carolina for exploration, and they had with them a contingency of enslaved people who they had stolen from Africa. And they came up the Petee River, and when they set up camp, the enslaved people overtook. It was a mutiny, actually. And the Spanish people who were left alive got out of the territory, the area, and there is no record as to where these people who were enslaved ended up, but they were free wherever they ended up. So South Carolina has a huge history, almost a history that we can talk about for days, with his involvement with racism and the red line and all that stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Okay. Um, I had a question, y'all. Oh, if y'all don't mind, I wouldn't mind going back and looking at Genesis 11 one more time. There's something I want to ask you about, see if you see what I see. Genesis 11, uh, I'm looking at the second verse, but I got to read the first one, I suppose. And the whole earth was of one language and one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. I want to talk about Shinar for just a minute. Uh,
What verse is that room?
Genesis chapter 11, verse 2.
Okay.
Shinar kind of got my attention uh, because of what it is and where it is, and want to look at it from a spiritual place and see if this makes sense to you. From what we talked about yesterday, looking at the Tower of Babel and what that means, and even looking at it spiritually and seeing kind of sort of duality, and we'll get into that in a minute too. Uh, but Shinar is a beautiful place. It's a grassy place. It has trees and very pretty place, and it lies between the Tigris and the Euphrates River. And it later became a place known for its pleasures and its wealth. It became a trading post. It became a place that attracted a lot of people. And from what I'm looking at where we are now, I'm wondering if that's symbolically a look at America. And here's what I'm saying. When you look at the Tower of Babel, it takes two there are two portals that's attached to it, or that's a part of it rather. One portal is Shinar. You see the beauty of it. You see a place to make money. You see a place for wealth. You see a place for pleasure, and you remain there. The other thing that you see is the gate of God. And when you see the gate of God, it moves you internally and not externally. And that's where your journey begins. So, one, if you see the gate of God, your journey leads to you finding yourself. Your journey leads to you seeing who you are and who mankind is, and searching more as to meaning of life. And the journey also is what set the rhythm. It's what we have grown accustomed to saying when we talk about vibrations and feeling and experiences, uh, as opposed to the other world just talking about wealth and money, and you never get to travel internally. So one is a place that you see with your eyes and experience with your eyes, and the other one is a place that you experience with your eye. And the choice is yours. Which direction do you go? And so if you look at Shinar, and uh, there's a lot to be said about it. Uh, later, I think in Daniel, there's the place where they were put in exile. The etymology of the word talks about intense negative emotions and a place that experiences violence. So on the surface, it looks good, it looks inviting, but it's also a snare, it's a trap, which comes back to the name of Nimrod, the hunter. It means to set a snare, to set a trap for you. So uh, just looking at that further, it kind of points to me anyway, where we are now, what we're going through, and some of the things we see and are experiencing. Does that make any sense to you at all?
It does.
It just we went through that yesterday, and I just wanted to come back to that part of it because I just thought that was kind of interesting.
I think you're spot on. You talk about America. Everyone is attracted to places of beauty,
Hmm.
and we as all of us see beauty, see with our eyes,
Yes.
and we're not looking at it with our eye, because if we were, we could see the rot beneath the surface. So when there are people who were anyway fighting to get to America,
Yeah.
um, because they want a better
Go
life.
soak in the bathtub, you'll feel better. Your muscles won't ache as bad.
Myra, Myra,
That's good advice, though.
yeah. Um, the what was oh, um, the, everyone wants to get here because they see a better life, and they look at the Statue of Liberty. They look at the Capitol. They look at cities, and they see what is deemed to be beautiful. However, when when America speaks about us, it's in dehumanizing terms, and people who want to come to America are taught to stay away from us. However, people still keep fighting. Look at how many times people have been extricated from the country across the border in Mexico and keep coming back. Why? They come back to feed the family at home. But I remember the guy who did one of my bathrooms, Hispanic. He talked about how he felt when he bought his truck. He bought a new truck. He was able to get him a new truck, and he said it never would have happened in Mexico. And then he talked about how Hispanics are mistreated in this country, even though they are the cusp of the workers in this country doing things that we once did. And I asked him, when you look at the pain that you endure, was it worth it? And it was worth it because he had a truck. And I left it alone, of course. But what I see in that now as we speak is he never saw anything with his eye, even the rot beneath the surface of the truck. And And so when you talk about Shinar and the beauty of it, see it with the eyes and the beauty, I mean, and seeing with the eye, seeing beneath the surface. I see that no different than I see Abraham. When the father of nations, that's what I'm talking about.
Sure.
And it was said that the generations would outnumber the grains of sand in the earth, and then it says the stars in the heavens. So I see the beauty with the eyes is no different than the grains of sand, which are which is materialism in the earth, something you see with your eyes. But the stars represent enlightenment, something you don't see with your eyes, but you experience with your eye. So for all I know about what's going on in this country, the eye of the nation is not on that pyramid on the back of a dollar bill. The eye of the nation is in South Carolina and other places, meaning that the energy of South Carolina is the eye of the nation that will bring eye of the country rather, that would change it into a nation. And I see that those who are dependent on the government to change things, they're seeing with their eyes. They
Yeah.
see their homes. They see their vehicles. They see all of these things, and in seeing them, they don't make an effort to see with their eye because they have been told by religious institutions that the third eye is non-existent. However, those who are in charge, or those who are the fathers of Christianity, Catholicism, they don't think that is something that doesn't exist because they have the pineal image or a symbol of the pineal gland in the courtyard in the Vatican. And you see that all over Europe. So we have been taught to see with our eyes when, in essence, we are the people who are able to see more clearly with our eye. And in doing so, we are looking in the mirror at that moment, seeing who we really are. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Sheldon,
Could you mute your phones, please?
Sheldon, would you mute 111 at the bottom? Thank you.
That's all a part of the religious rhetoric as well, though, that being godliness is seeing all this stuff and obtaining it. It's you get it through religion, and you get it through that understanding of the American dream. And that's hard for people to overcome from those two perspectives. See what I mean?
Yeah, but that's a recent phenomenon. When we grew up, you didn't have preachers talking about lay your hands on it and trust that God will give it to you. You didn't hear that. You didn't hear the wealth sermons or the material sermons that lay money at the foot of your covering and God will bless you. That kind of thing. You didn't hear that. we heard our message was geared toward going to heaven. And where did that come from? It came from the evangelicals. It came from white Christians. And when we started the health and wealth ministry, that came from white Christians. They did not originate, or they were not the originators of it. There were those, what's the street in Los Angeles?
Azusa Street or something like
Yeah,
that.
Azusa Street in Los Angeles, where it started, but it was not a theatric phenomenon. It was truly spiritual people who were doing spiritual things, and all of them were African. And white men in ministry saw an opportunity to make money, and that's where the charismatic ministry came from. They just stole it from Azusa Street and made it be what they wanted it to be. So that is a recent phenomenon with us. You see where I'm coming from? But both of them come from the same source, and both of them did and does damage. But the most damage was done through the charismatic ministry, because people truly believed that you have a utility bill, you give that money, God go give you that money back, 3 times, or that kind of thing. And now here we are looking at this thing, and we are seeing that the charismatic ministry taught people, especially people of African descent, that you could have things simply because you are in a name and claim it ministry, because you're blessed and highly favored in the Lord, that kind of thing. Where in the past, it was not like that. It was more geared to a heaven. And if you want to talk about the economic aspects of it, it was geared toward making sure that the next generation was better off than the previous generation, and pushing us to get an education so we could live better, which was totally different than the charismatic ministry. And that's why I say the charismatic ministry did the most damage, because it developed an affection for money, and it also developed a sense of superiority in Christianity. The charismatic ministry is superior because we are a word church, and the rest of the denominational churches don't know anything about the Lord because they can't speak in tongues. See where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And again, let me reiterate this, please, that the charismatic ministry came from people of African descent. It was not deemed the charismatic ministry until white men took it over. That's it.
That's pretty much all I mentioned duality. Duality when you see things with your eyes, they look equal. They look like one offers the same thing, or just as much value as the other one does. And it clouds your judgment. And that's what, looking at the Tower of Babel, uh, one can look at that and see what you want to see, and get caught up in, as we're saying, listening to your eyes, meaning that everything else that follows kind of feeds into what you want to see. and or you can have that what if moment,
Yeah.
you know, and sit down as Kathy has said in the past and kind of sit with it and find your footing and go from there.
Yeah.
So
Audrey?
Speaking of duality, um, I agree, and I find it amazing that when the creator said that, because they are of one mind, they
mhm,
can do anything. Yeah, there's duality in that too.
yeah,
You can do anything on a physical level, or you can do anything on a spiritual level.
spiritual level. Yeah.
So, and I think that's what Pastor was alluding to yesterday when he talked about the fact that we can do whatever we need to do without there being very many people to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that applies to everything, that duality thing. It's just the way you look at it and perceive it.
It's all about perception.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know the scripture that says, "Don't cast pearls beneath the feet of swine."
Hmm.
Have you given any thought to that? Because I think it also um, is connected to the concepts that we are speaking of in regards to Shinar and the Tower of Babel and the story about the father of nations, that kind of thing, right? Have you given any thought to what's being said there? Where does a pearl come from?
Irritation in an oyster, saying getting in an oyster.
How do you get it out? How do you get it out? You have to open the shell, right?
Mhm.
That pearl is formed in darkness. And what I'm seeing in this, don't cast pearls beneath the feet of swine, is don't make any attempts to force wisdom on anyone who does not want it.
Mm.
And I see that pearl, because of the way it is, the way it comes into existence, rather, I see that pearl as being indicative of wisdom. Why? Because people who don't want it, it irritates them.
Yeah.
And why would we force them to accept it? And that's one of the reasons I say to all of us, answer the question that is asked and give no editorial about the answer. Just answer the question. Audrey?
But isn't the irritation part of the what is the struggle? And it's the irritation that creates the pearl.
Yeah, the part of the story, I can see that.
So, I mean, it's not just, people who don't want it can be irritated, but people who are seeking it can also be irritated.
When we've been irritated, but we want it.
Yeah.
And we become that pearl, that wisdom, the source of that wisdom. But guess what? Don't cast it beneath the feet of swine. People who are going to trample on it, people who are going to make every effort to make you sound crazy in their own mind, be blasphemous, all of those things, all those labels. Avoid them by not casting this wisdom beneath the feet of swine. All of this is involved with whether you see with your eye or your eyes. If you see with your eyes, you only thing you know about wisdom is at Mother's Day. You know, when the sermon out of Proverbs, if you are seeing with your eye, you know that wisdom is always shrouded in darkness. And the darkness of wisdom doesn't mean that it's dark. It simply means that we don't understand it.
Yeah.
And just seek the light from that wisdom is what brings understanding. And yes, you're right, Audrey. We do get irritated while we are in the process of getting to a place where we truly embrace who we are. It never gets easy. It really doesn't. I believe that, but let me finish my thought, Charles, okay? I believe that if it ever got really easy, we will have a tendency to forget where we came from. So even though we say, to whom would we return to, there's nothing left to go back to.
Mm-mm.
We will forget where we came from, and we can't do that. Charles?
I don't mean to be funny, but I want to understand when you're saying swine, what is the metaphor of that are you talking about?
Anyone with a Neanderthal mindset. Did you get it, Charles?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that's interesting terminology because, and I guess it must be in the New Testament, or is it in the Old Testament?
I think it's in Matthew's, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, I believe it is, but it's in the New Testament.
Yeah, New Testament. Yeah.
Okay, so that would have been a Greek expression because Jewish people wouldn't say something like that because they don't value, well, they don't really value pearls, or they don't really deal with pearls, right? Because it comes from
Stations.
a bottom dweller sea
Yeah.
creature,
Yeah.
and they don't deal with pork either. So
I believe
that's
that
interesting.
the word was used, and that may not have been swine at all. I mean, when we look at all the words that were changed, that makes absolutely no sense, you know, now that we understand them.
Mhm.
It very well have not been the word that was written in the sacred writings, but added during the Dark Ages.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Now, since you said that, Real, you remember that they always holler about money is the root of all evil, and money is bad. And if that's true, gold, silver, it will be in the same process of money. So it ain't
Let me stop you, please. It doesn't
okay.
say, it doesn't say money is evil. It says for the love of money is the root of all evil.
Right,
Kathy taught that
right.
6 months, I believe. So that when it says money, money does not even have to be the word. It's talking about any kind of wealth, any currency, for the love of, when you love materialism more than you do people, you love materialism more than you do yourself. And if you look at the current environment as well as the environment that was previous to this one, you will see in every iteration of this country that there is a love of materialism, and and people will do anything to get their hands on it, whether it be genocide or lying, murdering individuals, whatever it takes, they'll do it. I agree in that regard, but it says for the love of money.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
A few minutes ago, I asked about why do we think these things came to South Carolina? I've got a question for everybody, whoever wants to answer it. What if this came to South Carolina as an invitation for us to deal with it? What if it came in specifically so that we could see it and be a part of it? And based on what we've learned and what we continue to learn, what do you see in that? Is that something that is scary to us, or is it something that we can meditate on and do something with? What do you see there?
Anyone?
What if it came here just for us? What if all this stuff that happened, even the history of South Carolina and politics and slavery, and what if we're here for that purpose? Has anybody ever thought of that?
Would anyone care to respond to that? No?
Well, Ron, I believe everything in some sense is neutral and an opportunity to learn and grow no matter what it is. I'll just say that at the moment. So basically, what you're saying to me doesn't sound outlandish or crazy
Exactly.
in any type of way. Especially, and I believe that, but I'm saying it as a general standpoint, if we are who we say that we believe we are. And I'm not doubting that. I'm saying, speaking as a general group.
I like that shit.
Can I say something? And I kind of like on the heels of what Sheldon is saying is us recognizing who we are, and I feel like when we recognize those things, when those things come up, you know, I mean, I think it's us observing it and us recognizing it. I think maybe that is a sign for us to deal with those things. You know, because we see stuff every day. You know what I mean? But I think when with Ron, when what made him stop and see that is maybe it's something for us to recognize, to look at and be like, okay, let's deal with that. You know what I mean? Because I mean, when we see these things that happen, I mean, I feel like it's up for us to change them, and when we see it and we know that we can do something for it, you know, and maybe not change the outcome, but influence the outcome. You know, because it's all a co-creation, but at the same time, I feel like that we can have some influence over a lot of the things that we see in the earth.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
There's duality there. We can either perceive it fearfully,
Yeah.
or we can perceive it as something that we can deal with spiritually. So yeah, I agree.
Good evening,
I
everyone.
agree on that.
Good evening, everyone. This is GC. Ron, when you spoke about Shinar, and it speaks about, the country of two rivers, and you spoke about the two rivers. And I think all of us have experiences that we're able to witness that help us to be able to appreciate our journey. And I just wanted to, share that I started out, this morning around 3 a.m. in the darkness, driving from the western part of Pennsylvania through the mountains on my way to Philadelphia. And during that experience, as you say, we talk about the country of two rivers, but it could be the country of two cities. It could be the country of however we're experiencing it in that moment. But
Right.
what I was able to bear witness to was during my travel, riding on the highway, looking at God's creation, looking at how wonderful, that I was able to appreciate the darkness, but more importantly, seeing the transformation of night to day. In the morning, I witnessed the sun rising and the energy from the light, from the heat, and from the sound just gave me an opportunity not to see it with my eyes, but to see it with my eye, to know the beauty of
Yeah.
what was happening inside of me, to be able to appreciate what do you create. And so my thoughts just start taking me, in that spiritual realm, to be able to, just fix my thoughts on that for that moment. And so I think that as we, like tonight, talk about the importance of what we are bearing witness to, I heard the word waters. You know what I mean? And so again, when we just think about, the power of water, it's just, gave me just an appreciation tonight just to share that thought, because it was something that in that moment it made me truly appreciate what you're talking about in terms of history or in terms of geography, and so I just wanted to share those thoughts because it was something that again resonated in my spirit, the power, of the sun. So I just wanted to share those thoughts. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Another thing I wanted to say, because we've been talking about water, and I know from my talks with Pastor, when we talk about water, we talk about consciousness, and like I remember we were talking about the word Jew or river crosser, and things like that, and like crossing from a
Hebrew.
level of consciousness. Hebrew. I'm sorry. Hebrew level of river crosser and crossing levels of consciousness. And two rivers is I could be wrong, but when I think about the two rivers, because it could go, because we still have a choice in this. Free will has a part to play in this, and our decisions, our actions, and everything takes place in this journey and this flow of consciousness. And we have a choice in what we are conscious of. You know what I'm saying? There are things that you pass by haphazardly every day that you don't even pay attention to, that almost don't even exist. And you know what I mean? And then there are times that you stop and you recognize, just like he was saying when he was driving down the road, and just take time to recognize and see the beauty in the things that are around you. And there are times that we're kind of shut off because we're just in, on autopilot throughout the day. And I think it's like us being aware and being conscious is not just being, oh, this, and this. Is to take the time and be aware in that moment. And us being conscious in those moments is where our power is. You being aware that you are Elohim and that you are God in the earth, and being aware in those moments and take time to see everything around you and to be who you are in those moments. That is where our power is. Because, when I think about praying without ceasing and vibrating them with the Creator and realizing all those things, and then in those moments and throughout our day and being aware of that is where the power is. And that's just, and I could be wrong, but that's just how I feel.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We are here to do this.
Yeah.
South Carolina is the epicenter of the chaos that we have lived through and are living through. So why is it that South Carolina would not be the epicenter for the light that brings everyone out of the shadow of evilness? So I truly believe that that's who we are. I don't know any group of people who do what we're doing nowhere on this earth. And to those who think that or feel like I'm speaking boastfully or arrogantly, no, 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 no. Why not us?
Yeah.
If it were not us, we'd be like, why? You know, I wish I had known that. I want to see that. So why not us? We have a tendency as a people to berate others who know who they are, who take a bold stand for what they believe in. We have a tendency to berate them. Yet, the thing that's doing us harm, and people know it's doing us harm, we don't even speak to it, let alone berate it. I believe that the question that Ron raised is a question that the ancestors want us to respond to. To be bold enough to speak the truth without regard to how people feel about it or think about it. Speak the truth. And the truth of the matter is, we are the light that's keeping the deepest form of chaos at bay while everything else is being exposed. The foundation of all of the chaos is the exact same foundation of enslavement. And that foundation of this chaos and this foundation of enslavement is greed. It's laziness. It's ineptness. What am I saying? This chaos is there because of greed. However, the greed is what forced Europeans to take us, to steal us from Africa, because they didn't know how to do anything. They could not survive. And they saw how the Africans were surviving when they first came to this country. Don't let anyone tell you that we were not here, because we were. 10,000 years before Columbus sailed anywhere. We are the ones who built everything. The iron workers out of Nigeria go to Charleston. Look at the ironwork. We did that. The concept of brick mason, putting mud between bricks, we did that. So no concept of doing anything other than killing each other. And that same concept was brought with them to every country they ever been to, and the results of it has always been genocide. And all of it is based on greed. We in South Carolina are the descendants of enslaved Africans. And we are here because we understand the system. And we've always been in a tight space. And we made every effort to get to the wilderness, but we did not know what the wilderness was. We thought the wilderness was a place for us to become like the oppressor. We are here because we understand that the wilderness is the place where all of this religious doctrine is drawn out of us. We are in a place where when the religious dogma is drawn out of us, our eye opens and we can see clearly the spiritual essence of our being. No one on this earth do what we are doing. And I believe that with everything in me. Now I know that. We are the pathway that the ancestors are guiding others to. And as long as we speak boldly and embrace the reality, yes, we embrace real Elohim, but it's more than that. We also embrace the reality that we are deliverers. And being deliverers means that we are tasked with delivering people from their state of blindness so they can see who they are. Delivering people from the bondage of greed so they can have empathy for people around them. When you ask that question, there is no way that South Carolina can be the epicenter, can be the source of the darkness, the evilness that has spread around this country. There's no way that could be so and not have light in the midst of it.
Yeah.
We are that light. And all the things that we have gone through, the burdens that we are borne, we are still standing. The things that irritate us or make us feel some kind of way, those external things are obstacles that we must overcome, because we know in the grand scheme of things, the only thing that's important is being expressive of who we are, remain in this space where we understand that we are deliverers, hate no one, embrace everyone, and seek to free the earth of the domination of a Neanderthal mindset. And yes, we in this state of South Carolina, those who have spread other places now, we are the eyes, the ears, the deliverer for humanity.
Amen. Ashe.
Questions, comments, does that make sense to you guys? Can you see the picture?
Yes.
If all roads of darkness lead comes out of South Carolina, all rays of light comes out of South Carolina, and here we are. when we talk about putting things in the macro, we are talking about we are talking about rays of light that is filled with the energy of self-exploration. Think about this. Everything about us points to energy. Melanin, source of all energy, source of everything that we are. Even the hair on our heads. Our hair grows towards the sun, not the ground.
Hmm.
There's a reason for that. It's all about energy. Everything about us is symbolic of a spiritual reality. And it's high time for us to embrace that. The most deadly thing that we have ever been taught about religion, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, or whatever, the most deadly thing that we have been taught about it is that politics or history does not fit with scripture. You got to talk about Jesus getting up early Sunday morning if you go into church. But you leave there with the same thing you went there with, nothing. But when you take it and you see it as the conceptual reality of deliverance, it begins to make a difference not only in our lives, but in other lives as well. We must never forget where we came from. And the odd thing about that is this. We know where we came from. We remember the antics. But yet, there's nothing to go back to. How does that work?
Hmm.
You want to know how that works? When you begin to see with your eye, you leave those things that you saw with your eyes. All of the rituals and all of the things that led you away from spirituality. Now you are seeing with the eye. And because you see with the eye, now you realize the reason there is nothing to go back to because it was non-existent in the first place. It held just enough power to bring us into existence. It held enough power to keep our forefathers, to keep our forefathers crying out to our Creator, looking for a day like this. And it is no doubt in my mind, there's no doubt in the depths of my soul that it is our ancestors, our mamas and daddies and aunts and sisters and brothers and children, our ancestors who is guiding us on this path.
Yeah.
There were too many of our ancestors, our elders who came in our midst, and they were female, who came in our midst, and we felt it when they got there. Before they even entered the room, we felt their presence. Why? Because we needed, now that we know this, we needed femininity to guard our souls while we learn how to protect femininity's existence. Those who came into our presence and we felt it, there's no doubt that they are a part of the band of ancestors who is guiding us right now. There's no doubt in my mind about that. There's no confusion with me about that. None whatsoever. And there is nothing that can separate me from that truth. Because that truth is the foundation that will bring stability to this earth. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody good? Oh, okay. Good place to take a pause then. Lot to think about. Be at peace.
Yes.
Be at peace. Hope you have a great week and look forward to Saturday.
Thank you for your presence. Audrey, you were going to say
Everybody,
something?
no, just saying
okay.
bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.